What is mental health and why a men's mental health toolbox? I want to answer these two questions because I think the reason why I'm doing this series is really important. Here's why. Mental health. Mental health, I think, is one of the most important topics that we can address in today's world because we are definitely in a crisis of people looking out for what can they do for their well-being, dealing with thoughts, feelings, dealing with our psychology. And to be honest, the root word of psychology is actually rooted in the word ancient writings for soul. It's predates psychology. It's this idea of our well-being. It's an idea of us having a healthy life in general and healthy relationships. So when I'm talking about mental health, I'm not talking about just getting rid of the problems, depression, anxiety, the addictions. I'm talking about those needing to be resolved, but wholeness, completeness, having a balanced, healthy way of dealing with our thoughts, our emotions, our decisions that leads us to the life that we are called and that we choose to live. I take a broad view of what is mental health, and being a counselor over these years, working with couples, working with individuals, and then before that serving and, as a layperson level, counseling other people and really healing from my own wounds. I want to give you a brief definition of what I see as mental health. A lot of it rooted in my training as an acceptance and commitment therapy informed counselor. Three big domains of what it means to be mentally healthy. One is awareness. Awareness. Mental health is that ability to be in the present moment and to be aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your bodily sensations, to be able to notice them, name them, look at them, and be in touch with them. The stuff inside your skin, we've got to be aware in the present, and we also have to be aware and be able to exercise the ability to be an observer of ourselves. The more we can realize there's a part of us, there's really two of us inside of here. There's the part of us that kind of is in the roller coaster of life, and there's the part of us that is simply observing our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, our behaviors in the moment. The ability to take perspective on yourself, that foundation is where compassion is grown, empathy is nurtured. This is the place where we're really in touch with what it means to be a human, what it means to be a man. Awareness. There's a lot of buzzwords that can similarly describe this concept. Some people say mindfulness. Some people say, but for example, perspective taking and present moment awareness. I just like the word simply awareness. That is a psychological foundational ability, and it's a skill. It's deep in our brains. That being there, two sides to our well-being emotionally and psychologically. One, we got to be aware, but we also have to be open. Open is this, kind of like how I described. Being able to be willing to see our thought life and to be able and open to accepting our emotional responses. Having a variety of words, for example, to express and describe them, but also being able to feel them. We are designed to feel. We are designed to connect with others. And one of the most serious dangers of today's stereotype of what we are called to be as men is to be disconnected from our emotional lives. And that's what it means to be a man. That is not what it means to be a man. That's what it means to be out of touch. And when we're out of touch, our emotions are going to go somewhere. And they're going to come out in behaviors that keep us stuck, addictions that will keep us literally in a bondage, and they're going to come out in ways that other people are going to find destructive. Emotional repression, not being in touch with the thought life that's going on in our heads and the emotional life that is going on for us constantly, leads to issues. There's a reason why 90% of the prisons are male filled, and reason why in those prisons over 90% are coming from a fatherless, meaning the father is not really involved in the home environment. Men need to be open and aware of their internal life, open and aware of their thought life. What's the self-talk? I like to call it self-talk going on in our minds. That is a huge part of mental health. On the other side, and this is really big for men, and this is counter to the way the mainstream psychology tends to lean. You cannot have mental health without developing a sense of being engaged with your life, engaged with it, having a sense of meaning and purpose. Two parts: knowing your values. What is important to you? I'm not talking about what you want to do. I want to eat donuts all day and stay in bed. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, or I'm not talking about shoulds. I'm not talking about just being a good little boy or doing what society tells you to do, or your church leader or your boss. I'm talking about your values. What kind of man do you choose to be? And what kind of person do you want to develop and walk into, grow into from the inside out? What do you sense is important to you in those domains? What do you have that sense of being called to for the long term of your life as a man? Without values, being aware of your values and engaged in having a contact with your values, you cannot be psychologically healthy. You'll get stuck in things that will keep you going in a circle. You will get stuck in pursuing things that are a dead end. And but you won't even know why. You'll think, oh, well, of course, this is just what I do. But you got to do the work of figuring out what's important to you, what gives you a sense of meaning and purpose. What are you being called to? Spirituality is, the lack of spirituality, I think, is at the root of the crisis in the mental health world that we are experiencing. Spirituality is a foundation of meaning and purpose in life. I'm not talking about the doctrines yet. I'm merely talking about the principle of being understanding that we are in something bigger than what the world, modern world, tells us we are. That's big for mental health. Related to that, we've got to take action. I cannot help somebody with their depression or their anxiety or whatever it may be unless there's a commitment to take action based on their values. You've got to get moving in your life. We've got to be able to have habits of action, rhythms of action that are done daily, that are done weekly, that move our lives forward. We need, as men, a sense of competence and skill. Just feeling confident is wonderful, but there's a big difference between feeling confident and developing skills, abilities, and having a history of learning and growth and getting better at whatever we roll up our sleeves to do. Mental health is being able to live a life with our head, our heart, and our hands that moves in a direction that we find meaningful and important. That is a big part of mental health. We got to be human beings, right? But we've got to be able to live our lives. Trying to fix our mental health by just getting rid of our emotions, not feeling them, just staying in our heads all the time, analyzing. Why do I do this? Let me read some more psychology books. Let me just stay in my head. I need some more advice. If we just stay in that world and we think we're being very psychological, but we don't make decisions and choices here and now, towards the life that we choose to live, we can't have mental health. Men need all three domains to live out our God-given calling. And look, if you are not a believer, your evolutionary calling, whatever you want to say. But here's the deal. Being open, aware, and engaged with our lives is the foundation of mental health. As men, we need all three. We live in a time when men do not give a lot of encouragement, and yet I believe that our role as men is foundational to society. It's foundational to the well-being of future generations in our role as fathers, uncles, big brothers. Men, close with this, need other men who are doing well. Good breeds good. Your mental health matters. And that's why I'd like to develop and give these little notes for a men's mental health toolbox. Use whatever you would like. References will be in the little, the written part below the video. Have a great week, and we will go back to the toolbox.